Met your mother just earlier on, Josephine, and we met your brother also. Oscar, what was your brother's name again? Duncan. Duncan. And your mother's name again? Jemima. They are from England. And you live near here? Where are you? Very close, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's about half an hour's drive.
30 minutes. Châtillon? Nice. And you passed your driving test in the same place that I did. In Swindon. She was living near Swindon in those days. 19.
Open the door a little bit, Maharaj. Just a little bit, yeah.
If anyone wants to escape, the door is now open. Success there?
Just use your muscles to come up.
Be careful. Whole door might come out.
Or just break the whole door. Just take off the whole door.
That's your house.
She will help you. I also put a little bit of wood, so maybe that's
And I think you speak English also? Are you living nearby?
Yeah, I'm staying with them.
You're staying together?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
She's from Portugal.
Yeah.
From?
Portugal.
Portugal.
Yeah.
Nice. Also, Portugal. Portugal.
Ah, it's not the same.
Look the same. Few years difference.
Família da Lausanne.
Lausanne. Ah, British.
Viu bué da tempo em Portugal.
Okay.
And some of us are from England. England.
Yes.
From Slovakia. France. Where are you from? From Brazil. Brazil. Denmark. Where's Denmark? Denmark. Bengal. India.
New Zealand.
Who's from New Zealand?
New Zealand. He's from New Zealand.
New Zealand, England. New Zealand.
In Australia.
Who's from Australia?
The passport is from Australia.
Whose passport?
Luchan.
Huh?
Luchan.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah, okay. Whoa. Not sure of his identity.
Well, I have the proof you opened my passport.
Huh?
You opened my passport first time. I have the proof. I took a picture.
Did you? Okay.
I was stopped by the police with him one time he was driving, and his wife told the police, it's okay, he's from Australia, he's used to driving on the left side.
Yeah. It's always a good line when you get in trouble in this country, you know.
The police, they were smiling.
Yeah, they do. They sometimes have a laugh with foreign drivers in France.
But he wasn't driving on the left side, neither on the right side.
No. Didn't want to take the risk, so he was a bit of both or in the middle. The middle path.
Middle way.
So, where is her translator gone? We've lost the translator. Gopaswami has disappeared. So welcome everybody this evening. This very homely and kind invitation from Madan Gopal and his wife. Today in Un, you say Un, is that how you pronounce it? Un? The village? Un?
No, it's very.
Huh?
Very.
Very,
Very.
very,
The town here?
Rain?
very,
Very.
very.
Veil. Veil, if you're from South India. Veil, veil, veil. You've seen that in Madras? Tamil. Veil, 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 veil. Wherever we are, it's nice to be together here. We're waiting for our translator. Is he coming later or is he... What's he doing? Translator's later. Here he comes. What a relief. Ah, you feel better now? One of the joys of material life, isn't it? When you relieve yourself. I feel so good now. I've just passed through.
I just put my nicest dhoti today for the kind invitation, you know.
Wow.
I didn't expect it, we fell down here.
Your dhoti fell down. It fell down.
Almost. It's tight, it's okay.
Well, as long as it was only the dhoti that fell down. Duncan almost fell down just now.
Yeah, my feet went dead.
Your feet went
Feel
dead.
Lost control.
Yeah.
Almost.
Whoa. Just imagine. That can happen at any moment.
Yeah.
We don't know. Isn't it? Any moment. We don't know what's going to happen. So we've been asked to give a little talk. And just 20 minutes or so? Or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah, well, I'm trying to pass the time. We've already passed it already. Okay, we'll speak for a little bit. So, some of you are not so familiar, I think, with Krishna conscious philosophy. Maybe the lifestyle also looks a little odd. I don't know. The dress, the type of life we lead, I suppose. It's based upon a certain principle. We don't just dress like this as if we're on a fancy dress party. At least I'm talking about myself and one or two of us here. Most of you are dressed in civil clothes. But some of us have fancy clothes here. And and some of us have bald heads, shaved heads, at least the men. And some of us have this paint. Not exactly paint, but some people think it's paint. On our foreheads and beads. Some people say it looks very exotic. It's very Indian. Materially, you could say that. Why do we dress the way we dress? We dress the way we dress. Why? Any answer? Your choice, I suppose, isn't it? MG?
For example, the police officer, he dresses the way he dresses because he's representing someone.
That's one reason, isn't it? That's one reason. You know, you may have a duty in life. I don't know what everybody does here in terms of their occupation, but many people have a job, and if you're working in a factory, you may have to put on some overalls or something. If you work in a hospital, you may have to put on certain dress for nurse. If you're a fireman, you may have to put on a certain dress. Same with a policeman. If you're in the army, navy, whatever. Ladies, not so much now, but a few years ago generally had a more distinctive dress than that of men. When we're babies, we have a different dress. Perhaps we cannot remember when once upon a time we had napkins on. I don't remember, but you may have them again when you get old sometimes. According to the situation. So there's duty, like the policeman, and then there's convenience, according to health conditions too. And what other reasons are there? We've mentioned choice. You kind of mentioned choice. I think when we have a choice, that's one of our probably most,
Dress for
considerations.
people, also to please others.
Yes, to please others, isn't it? That's a nice one, to please others. I don't know how much you think of that one, but a lot of people do, especially if you have a very close relationship with someone. You want to please them, or you want to develop a relationship with that person. A girl would dress to attract a boy, or a boy a girl. Maybe. What else? What are the reasons?
Identity.
Pardon?
Identity.
Identity. A lot of people, one way or the other. Some people have, identity problem. They may dress in a way to try to create some kind of identity, or you may identify with a culture or with a, religion or something or another. Some people, they like to identify with something, you're a group. Not so much here. I see almost everyone has some. There's not much uniform identity, maybe between those two gentlemen sitting over there. Are you related, you two gentlemen? You know each other? They have T-shirts on and some similar identities there. But there's a lot of variety in this room, isn't it? Is it not? Some things in common, of course. We all have something in common, no matter what our dress, no matter where, what our color, what our gender, what our age, what our behavior. We all have something uniform. Don't mean the cloth uniform, but something inside us all. So, Bhagavad Gita, I think the regulars, of course, know it well, but I don't know if you've seen this book before. We have it in French also. French copy is there. Bhagavad Gita. You could say that the Bhagavad Gita is especially. You've seen before? No, not seen. Okay. You want to read? Krishna and Arjuna. There, good girl, Sangita. When we were students in the United Kingdom in England, I would say 1969 was the first time that I came across this book. I was brought up in a very ordinary family. We were just normal, so-called normal, ordinary people. Father working for the railways. Mother didn't work. Those days, usually, mothers did not work, even in England. Now, mostly the mothers work, huh? In England, mostly. Very rare for a mother in the early 50s to work. Full-time, job. They worked at home or maybe a part-time job. And we lived in a little tiny terraced house, a little industrial house. We had no kitchen. We had no bathroom. You can't envision that nowadays so much, at least not in Europe. We cook on on top of here is a different type of oven, different type of fireplace. And we heat the water and bathe in a big bucket. Some of you, Aladar, you may have experienced that when you were a child. Yeah, also Govaswami. Yeah, we never had what to speak of a shower, we never had a bath. Once a week we would bathe, only once a week. Most of the young ones have, you can't experience this so much. And very simple life. And we were brought up like that once a week. My parents would send me to the Sunday school, the church. Something was there, but my parents never went. I occasionally read a little of the Bible, but it didn't really sink in, I suppose, really. It didn't really have much of a practical application in my life, particularly. You have the same thing in India, right? Most people, they don't really apply what they read spiritually. I think in Islam they're more serious about that. Rightly or wrongly, but I think they're quite serious about that. And we're just going on like normal people. So what happened? What made me become crazy like this? What happened? What caused the change? We all go through changes. Even materially, they may be material changes, but changes are always taking place in our lives. What causes change? What causes change, whether it's society change or personal change? What causes change?
Desires.
Well, there's desire in our hearts, which is amazing, actually, isn't it? Sometimes they come up at a certain time. We weren't even aware. As we mature, as we grow through our life, sometimes desires come up, which we never contemplated before. What else causes changes? That's one. Pardon? Time, the effect of time. Time has this effect of, everything has beginning, growth, sustenance, dwindling, and deterioration, finished. Time brings things and removes things, no doubt about that. Certainly as we get older, changes take place. Probably the music which you liked when you were a kid is not the same as the music you like when you're older, probably. I don't know. With most people it was like that, their habits and so on. What else causes change?
Change is the natural state of affairs. It's the only constant.
Sorry?
Change is the natural state of affairs.
Change, it's a natural thing. Change is a constant thing in this material. There was a record when we were kids, forever changing. I think it was the Beatles or something. Everything is always changing. It's the nature of the material world. It never stays. Just scientifically, even the atomic, everything's moving all the time, causing changes. Our mind is always changing. The body is changing. At every moment, the body changes.
Association?
There's another one, isn't it? Association. By associating, and in some ways that's the, other than the natural ones you've mentioned, is, practically speaking, externally, it might be the most influential one, association. From the moment we're born, we associate, and we're influenced by the association. We have our already existing concepts, which we may not be aware of as a baby, as a conscious being. Tendencies are there within us. desires are there within us. We may not have seen or aware of them at this moment, but they're there and they come up at certain times, surface. But the association around us also. We get influenced. The idea of society is to influence people, isn't it? To think in a certain way, to behave in a certain way, even sometimes to dress in a certain way. When I went to college, it was quite a conservative time in England. We had the teddy boys. You've ever heard of the teddy boys? Not the teddy bears, the teddy boys. They were kind of like, a bit, Elvis Presley and so on. And I don't know what else there was at that time. Then about the mid-80s, mid-60s, excuse me, then other things started coming in. There was different... They came in about that time with the rockers, the mods, the Hells Angels, call it what you will. Different identities, different groups, what their causes were, who can say. But they came in. So at that time also, when I went to college, there was some radical changes in the world around us, late 60s. People were questioning the norm. The vast majority of people were very kind of like conformative, very conformative to the life style, the way, everything, the religion. England was England. It was for English people. I guess France was for French people. You see now there's multiple, multiple, cultures and people from different nations everywhere. But then it wasn't like that so much. I remember when the first brown person moved into the town, Swindon, it was the talk of the town. There's a brown person living in the road next to us. It was a shock, You kind of look at him like, You go to India in the early days, and people would touch you, as if you're like, maybe something different. They like touch your skin. You don't wonder what you are, You're white, Same thing, It was a shock, a brown person had moved in. And a black person. Then a Chinese person. What's going on? What's happening here? It's like a shock, But gradually we got over that. Kind of accepted it. So there were other changes taking place. It was you could say what would be the word? Changes in one's beliefs. That's not the word I'm looking for, but the changes in one's very kind of like perception of life, and changes in, what, pardon? One's paradigms. That came kind of a little secondary, but there was a challenge to the situation. One was questioning, people were questioning, what's it all about? What's going on here? What's the point of this? Especially that time, there was a little exposure to other cultures. There was another country besides England. There were human beings who weren't English. Although we're the best in the world, of course. But there are other humans who've got a different idea sometimes. They eat different things. They don't just eat potatoes. They eat other things. They have a different religion also. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, maybe. But there was questioning, no, maybe it's not terrible. Maybe there's something more than what we think is there. And it became quite strong. And then from all parts of the world, people were coming, moving around. Introduction or association was there. And I would say 1969, when I was at college, we were first introduced to literature, other than the usual literatures one is introduced to as a school or a home or a church or wherever. But this book came our way, not this particular edition, but the Bhagavad Gita. Literally it means the song of the divine, a spiritual song. Not just a song related to the material body, but something beyond. Perhaps when you were younger you also questioned, who am I? A simple question. Is there something more to me than just the body and mind? What's inside? What's the cause of this? What happens when I die? Why am I suffering or enjoying? Why are some people happier than others? Why are some people born here and some people born there? Why is there so much suffering in the world? You may ask simple questions like that, which I guess most people ask. But there's not really a very deep answer. There's not even a karmic answer. Some people have some idea of karma. That was another term becoming popular in those days, karma. Musicians, many of the young musicians were introducing these ideas in society. Books were coming in. So karma, people's idea of karma is step forward. It's a scientific thing, karma, isn't it? Isn't it scientific? Is it materially scientific? Action and reaction. Every action has a reaction. It's a scientific understanding. It's not some philosophy, it's a fact. Every single movement, like someone said, change, automatically take. Oscar, you said. Automatic is part of, it's a scientific conclusion. When an atom moves, it affects another atom, it affects everything. Everything is triggered. One thing causes another. And even we heard that in the Bible, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It's a kind of a metaphorical way or whatever of saying the same thing. You do something, you're going to get a reaction for it, equal. So karma is something like that. It's a great science, which is explained in here in much more detail, of course. So that was coming in, and we were questioning, well, what we do maybe has a reaction. It's not just do what you like, never mind. Another concept which was coming in, or understanding, is that, we're not just this body. There's more to life than just the body and mind. There's some conscious. Where does love come from? Where does feelings come from? Where do emotions come from? Fears. Questions were coming in to our life. And we were associating by natural, simply because where I was, with persons who'd been around the world, heard from others, seen others, read other things, practiced other lifestyles. So this is one of them that came in. And I came across the Bhagavad Gita and started to delve into it. Many other literatures were there, some of them you never heard of, which were coming our way. Because there was no practice at that time. No one was practicing it. It was just literatures coming, I Ching, have you ever heard of the I Ching? Tibetan Book of the Dead. Be Here Now, Autobiography of a Yogi. Was it that very famous Muslim or Sufi writer? Was it Carl Gilbram or something? Very famous. Beautiful poet. Writing on esoteric subject matters of Islam and so on. So many literatures, Buddhistic literatures we were reading. Something very, opening our eyes, so to speak, to not just going about our life, born, school, youth, maybe getting married, getting a job, working, having a family, a house, trying to be a good man or woman, or whatever you think, getting older, and then dying. That's life, right? And all the details in between. But it doesn't really have much kind of sense if you look at it from a a broader perspective. What's the meaning? And many people don't want to go there. They just accept it as that. Those who are religious may say, oh, it's that we can, this is our only chance to go to heaven or hell or something or another. But there's not much of an idea of the reason why we're born where we are, even who we are. Good idea to find out who we are. You think that would be one of the most important questions we'd ever ask. Who am I? And if you ask most people, who are you? What will you say? I mean, most people will say, I am Joe, whatever. Joe Blogs, as we say in English. John Smith. I'm from England. I'm an accountant. I'm married. I'm 35 years old. I'm whatever else. I'm president of the whatever, laughing club, whatever you are. This very shallow understanding, isn't it? To find out more and more who is that conscious entity. So I'm just going to read one or two little things from this Bhagavad Gita about this deeper aspect of identity. We have our external identity, which we mentioned in the beginning, of some kind or another. We may have our mental identity, different philosophies, different concepts and so on, desires, beliefs. But right at the beginning of this book, it's interesting. It starts off with a discussion of, or a conversation between, as Sangita, the little girl, said, Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna was unknown when we were children. We never heard the name. Krishna. We heard of God. Krishna, for those who are from India, or from Indian origin, what does Krishna mean? I mean, in terms of, let's say, how you'd say, who is Krishna?
The Almighty God.
It's a name of God. It's an address of God. So other people may call God, or not call God anything. They may not believe in God, but those who do may call him Allah, Yahweh, or whatever, Hiddenai, or I don't know what they call him. But Krishna in India, many people know it's an address of Godhead, of the supreme origin, the supreme person. And Arjuna is a follower, devotee of Krishna. So he's inquiring from Krishna what to do. I don't want to do my job. He was having a problem performing his duty. He had a hard time. He was a king. He was a warrior. And he is obligated to fight in this battle. He didn't want to. Materially, you could say, oh, that sounds a good man. He doesn't want to do it. But, well, from the material side, but that's one thing. But Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about something much higher than just the material duty, or just the material achievement of being a good guy, of making a nice, making society nice, so to speak. Something much higher. Something that most people don't conceive of in their lives. That there's something way beyond their imagination almost, which can be achieved in the human form of life. So he gives a little clue in the right from the very beginning of this, as Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight, I want to get out of here. And Krishna says, no, that's not going to make you happy, even if you do go away. It's not going to help anyone either, believe me. Why? Because you don't know who you are. Arjuna, you are thinking you are the body. You are thinking you are, whatever it is in this body. In your case, you are thinking you're a warrior and so on. and you're thinking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to cause any harm to anyone else. It's a nice thought. It's a nice thought. It's a nice mind from the material point of view, you could say. But then we have to understand what it means, causing harm to somebody. You know what karma means? This is a kind of karma too. I'm thirsty because I haven't drunk enough water, therefore I'm thirsty. And if I drink water, then my thirst will be probably quenched. Thank you. It may be a little difficult to put it there now. If you can find a way of putting it there, there's too many things on there. What does karma mean? We've expressed one simplistic understanding of karma. Is there another one? It could be seen as behaving particularly. Of course, different people would see responsibility a little differently, but it is a responsibility. What else can we say about karma? Activities? Yeah, it could be just be seen. Some people just say action. Usually they say action and reaction. Oh, it's my karma, isn't it? It's a common saying. Prabhu, I don't say Prabhu. Oh, I'm suffering so much, it must be my karma. Even many people in society say that. Even my brother is a complete agnostic. But sometimes he says, oh, what can I do? It's karma. What karma? Who suffers karma? Who suffers karma? Who is it that's experiencing karma? Pardon? Well, all of us, but I mean in terms of, what is that? The body is suffering karma? Is the body suffering karma? The mind? But the mind is also karma. The fact that you've got problems in the mind is also karma. Isn't it funny? We say, I'm having so many problems with my mind. Don't people say like that? I'm having a lot of mental problems. I am having a lot of mental problems. I. Who's that I who's having mental problems? If it was a mind, it wouldn't be able to say that. False identity is there. We're identifying with the mind and the body, there's no doubt about that. But at the same time, we're seeing ourselves apart from it. I broke my leg, my leg, not me. Not me's broken, my leg is broken. My mind, oh God, I'm in so much disturbance in my mind. We speak like that because that's how it is. But we don't see ourselves apart from it. It's amazing. And if we understand ourselves apart from this, you can actually not be disturbed by this. And you're not going to be disturbed by other people who are different, who have a different idea. If one realizes one's spiritual identity, there's harmony. You can't get harmony. Peace is not available unless we understand the common thing between all of us. Yeah, we have minds, but your mind, my mind, we're all very different. Your body, my body, very different. Same and different. Same ingredients, but different shape, different color, everything. A mind has so many different ways and concepts. So the first thing Krishna says to Arjuna is, wait a minute. You're making this decision based on the material point only, which has to be taken into account, but it's not the main point. There is no solution, win or lose in this world. There is no solution like that. We've got to get to the root of it. You have to understand, Arjuna, in the very early time, very first thing he says to him practically. I'll read the first basic instruction, or words, not instruction, but words he says. He says, Arjuna, never was there a time when I did not exist. Now that's quite something, isn't it? We can say that from an atomic point of view, the atoms are ever existing. But he's not talking like that. He said you, meaning you're study here. Never was there a time when you did not exist. That means you existed before you were born. And you'll exist when you die. Nor you, there was never a time when you did not exist, nor I, nor all of these various kings and soldiers assembled here. Nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. We're eternal. Wait a minute. We're eternal? No, I'm going to die. No, you're not. Oh, Krishna, are you mad? Of course I'm going to die. Isn't it? Yes or no? Yes and no. The body is going to die. So then he says, next verse, as the embodied soul, that means, he's getting straight to the point, soul, everyone talks about soul, spirit, 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 but there's not always a very deep understanding of that. Idea in most people's minds may be there, but what is it? Who am I? You are the soul. As the embodied soul, that means the conscious entity experiencing the reactions of karma. Karma means activity which we perform, which causes future material bodies. We act in such a way as to create for ourselves future material bodies, whatever life form it may be, according to how we act. That soul, Krishna says, passes in this body continuously from boyhood, means childhood, to youth. Some of you are youth, more or less. To old age, some of you are middle age, you could say also is there. Old age, some of us are old age. Are you old yet, Haladar Prabhu? He's well into his 80s now. He knows well about it. Michelle, how old are you? Also getting older. Gopaswami Prabhu. No, not you. You're just a young boy. You're a youth still. Not me, I'm getting old. So many of us are in our 70s, physically, huh? Physically, bodies over 70s, 80s, like that.
And you, Maharaj?
Whoa, in between 70 and 80. Almost halfway there. Halfway in between. I can't catch up with you. You're way ahead of me. I don't know if I'll ever catch up. Let's see. The body, but the soul, we're still the same person in one sense. The mind has changed. The body has changed. The world has changed. Your friends have changed. But there's something, I remember when someone asked me the other day, I don't know how it came up, the Queen of England came up. 70 years the Queen of England. She got coronated in 1953. That's a long time ago. Or maybe two or three, I can't remember, one of them. And that's the first memory I've got of standing on the street with a Union Jack, waving this little Union Jack as she went along the street, I can remember that. I remember when I was 2 or 3 years old waving the Union Jack. Very patriotic, you see. You can remember, it's you. You can remember it. I remember when I was, on holidays somewhere, or, with your, whatever, you have all these memories. Huh? And there's something about us, although all around us has changed, you can see you're still, although the around us has changed, including the mind, we're still the same person in reality. We're the same person witnessing the changes. Quite simple to understand in one sense. So Krishna says that you pass like this, and then at the time of death, as we've gone, our bodies now, medically I've heard, are different to what they were. All the cells have changed. Not the same cells either, I've heard that. I don't know details of it, but I've heard all the cells in the body change so many years after 7 years, more or less, all the cells are different. So your body is completely different after 7 years in terms of its cellular construction. So we're changing bodies all the time in this lifetime. Even in this life, in reality. We don't see it because it happens slowly, imperceptibly. It's slowly changing body, changing bodies. And then it says, similarly, when this body finally collapses, you move into another body. It's a different logic. We may not grasp it immediately because we're so conditioned to our Western way of seeing things. But in India and Asia, not just India, anybody who's not been, let's say, overwhelmed by modern education or something, even if they have, they still, yes, of course I'm not this body. Of course I'm not. The ordinary person on the street knows I'm a spirit soul. They're convinced. They're convinced of what's called reincarnation. Term. And believe it or not, it's up to you. But in the early Christian writings, reincarnation was also understood far more than it is now, put it like that. And there's a history behind why it's not so prominent now. We won't get into that. So he goes on, O Arjuna, the non-permanent, in this lifetime, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course. Happiness and distress come and go in this life, are like the appearance and disappearance of the winter and summer, just like now we're in the middle of summer, right? Is that right? June is summer, isn't it? Few days, few weeks away is Midsummer's Day. We can't wait for Midsummer's Day. I don't know whether summer's coming this year or not, but let's see. Just now coming, huh? They arise from perception with our senses, with the objects, because of how our body, our mind, senses interact with what's around us. We feel happiness or distress. We have to learn to tolerate them. That's another aspect, you could say, of spiritual knowledge. Not identifying with this body, understanding our spiritual nature, understanding what happens to us in the course of life is due to our previous activity. It's not by chance that things we're born in a family, rich, poor, black, white, atheist, religionist. It has an original root. It's common logic. Why? It's not fair. It's just, why am I born the way I'm born? This is all explained in Bhagavad Gita. But our time has expired. And we have to move on now to another body. Huh?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Well, yes. In the last 30 minutes I've been speaking, or something like that, this body has changed. It's changed. By association, there's a minute change. You will find that there's some little change now in your thought patterns.
Take some questions if you want. We'll just start preparing the...
Well, there's going to be a lovely lunch now, cooked with love. That also affects us, doesn't it, what we eat? Some people have a philosophy, you are what you eat. You heard that before? I think some famous Western philosopher, George Bernard Shaw, I think it was, or somebody like that, said, you are what you eat. In other words, what you eat does affect us. It does. It has an effect. Everything has an effect. When we say us, it doesn't really affect the soul, but it affects the mind, which, basically is what we're experiencing. The world is on the platform of the mental platform. The happiness and distress is experienced on the mental platform. If we're not in the body, let's say if the soul's not in the body, and you hit it with a hammer, body we call dead body, if the soul's not there. What happens to the body? It may break or something, but is there going to be a scream coming out of the body? Ah! Nothing, no reaction. It just crumbles if you hit it hard enough. We burn it. No reaction. When a person dies, something's gone, isn't it? Something's left. Even if you say it's the mind, then find out more about the mind. Most people don't know much about that even. Or to speak of that which is experiencing the mind. Something's gone. And if you say, no, he's still there, what will they say? He's not, he's gone, he's dead! She's dead! Well, who's dead? What's happened? The body stopped functioning, okay, but that's not all there is to it. Yeah, nobody loves a dead body, do they? Some people may have some warped idea, but generally not. The body has to be alive. Life. When that life is gone, there's no wrath, there's no relationship, there's no finished. So to find out who that person is, then we can really talk about real happiness, not just temporary happiness of karmic form, but another kind of happiness, another kind of peace, another kind of harmony, where we can respect everyone equally. Very nicely explained here, how we can respect everyone. Even they're different, their beliefs are different. They may hate us due to their karma or their mind desires or whatever. But still, you can see them in a different light, as a spiritual being, covered by false identity. Beyond the coverings, beyond the barrier. It's like you get a nice gift for Christmas. It's wrapped up with 6 or 7 layers of paper and cardboard. And, you've got to get inside, right? There's a box of chocolates inside. You're not going to enjoy it just by looking at the box with all the wrappers and labels on it. A little bit of enjoyment, but not much. Ooh, doesn't taste very nice. They told me they'd give me chocolates. Eat the paper, eat the whatever plastic. You've got to open it up and see what's inside. And then you may be able to enjoy, so to speak, the chocolate, whatever they've given you. So like that, there's something very deep inside all of us, which is a common factor, although we're still individuals, but there's a common factor there which will bring harmony or peace amongst us. And not only amongst us in terms of material, but eternally. We can realize our spiritual, eternal, and that's freedom. Somebody said, I want escape or freedom just now, but that's the real freedom when we're off the bodily platform of life, not this temporary liberation which we have, liberation movements for this, that and the other in this world today. French liberation, English liberation, this liberation, that liberation. No. Spiritual liberation. Yes. That's where satisfaction. Not that we're only looking for satisfaction, there's much more to it than that too. But that's one step, first step one. Any questions? Anyone have any problem with their teeth? Anyone got any toothache? We have a dentist here. Anyone got any problems with their minds? I won't embarrass anyone. Feet. We have a doctor here. Yes. Dr. Gopal.
I have a leg problem.
Leg problems. Stomach problems.
It sounds a step or chapter, but how to apply practically this intellectual understanding.
Yes, that's, as I say, this is just step one. In every step of life, you generally speaking, there's sometimes it's already in us and it comes up, but otherwise we hear about it from others. Let's take an example. When I was a child, and I lived in England, and I think the first time I went over the seas was, well, we went to the Channel Islands, if you know where that is. It's really part of France, but the British claim proprietorship of it. Oh, wait a minute, I'm on your side of the channel. The first time I went to Europe, you know, I remember sitting in the room. I was about 9 years old, and my mother, father had gotten all these brochures, holiday resorts, you know, Costa de Brava or something like that, somewhere in Spain, French Riviera, Italian Riviera, Canary, what's it called? Not the Canary Islands, the other ones in the Mediterranean, Ibiza, and these, different places anyway, all nice places, you know. And you see all these beautiful pictures of sun and beaches and beautiful hotels and people looking happy, enjoying themselves on the boats and, you know, nice old little villages and what have you. Very attractive, huh? So we wanted to go there. And my mum said, which one do you like? You know, which one do you like? I chose the, what was it called? We went to Lloret del Mar in Spain. I think it's on the Costa Brava, I think they call it. Is that Spain? Costa Brava, I think. It's a coast near Barcelona. It looked really nice. Ooh, it was really nice. As a kid, it was nice, you know, we enjoyed it. So we went there on the train all the way through France. I remember changing trains from Gare du Nord to, I think Austerlitz. I think it was Austerlitz. We caught the train down to the south coast, Carcassonne or somewhere, I don't know, somewhere or another. Changed trains. I went into Spain. It was all very exciting. You had to go through the process. It wasn't enough just to look at the brochures. Okay, that's it, son. You've had your holiday now. You just look at the brochure, you know. No, that's not enough, is it? Not enough. Or a bottle of honey. You have to taste it. Okay, you've got to know the process, how to get there. So that's Gopaswami Prabhu's question. You want to understand more about our spiritual nature. There's a process. You can say, well, I can't see the soul. Fair enough. We can't see the atom, but there's a process of seeing the atom. There's a process of going to the Costa Brava. There's a process of whatever it is we hear about becoming a PhD. There's a process. There's a process of getting here. There's a process. The first thing you ask is, where do you live? The second thing is, how do I get there? There's a process of getting here. You find out what the process is. And you follow the process. Isn't it? Don't get lost. Follow the process. Make sure you catch the right train. Otherwise you won't end up in the Costa Brava. You'll end up somewhere else. You've got to know how to get, that's the process. That is also described clearly in here. And the essential path is like, if you want to go, now you have GPS, okay, it's the same principle. But when we were young drivers, there was nothing. You had to ask somebody. Even the maps were not so popular. They became very popular. Excuse me, what is the way to, I can't pronounce it, Ville? Even my spiritual master said, I can't pronounce these French words. They're difficult to pronounce. Some of them are easy, some of them not. The same with English. If you're French, the English words are difficult. So, you know, it's to know the means of how to get here. And you have to follow it. If I don't follow what you tell me, I'm not going to end up here. You know how to get here, I don't. First thing is a little humility. I don't know. If we say, I want to know, because I don't know, that means we're on the way. We say, I don't care what you say. I don't believe in it. I don't believe there's such a village. I don't believe in it. And even if there is such a place, I'm going to follow my own way. You're going to have a hard time getting here. Something you don't know. The first thing is to admit we don't know. That's not an easy one. That's the first thing. We're in ignorance. And then, if we're sincere, I remember, I'll tell you honestly, one of the triggers in my coming to this lifestyle at least was a little bit later. It wasn't 69, it was 1970 or 71. And I was that time becoming very interested and convinced that there was something more to life than meets the eye, so to speak. And I was feeling something deep inside. So I was praying. I was literally, I don't usually pray, by the way, but I was praying. And I was praying to Jesus because I suddenly became convinced that some or another, although I was reading the Bible a little bit, but I became convinced that Jesus was what, not exactly what people say, but more than that actually, that, he could give us everything. But I was praying to him for guidance, someone to give me some direction in life, some guidance. And it was, honestly, shortly after that I came in contact with the members of the Hare Krishna movement. And I'm not just trying to blow my horn, but that's what happened anyway. Then I started to study that lifestyle and that teaching, and from there it developed, you could say. Yeah, so if that association again, and that willingness, desire, and admitting I don't really know, then it becomes possible. Arjuna was challenging Krishna in the beginning, and then there's one verse where he says, Karpanya dosho in Sanskrit, Karpanya dosho, that he accepted Krishna as his guide. And then Krishna then speaks the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. Directions of life, how we can get self-realization, God-realization, freedom from karma, peace, and inner happiness, and how we can share that with all others. And a society where it makes it more favorable for that opportunity. That's another angle, which we haven't got time to get into. The environment. Our modern day society is a little difficult sometimes. It's not easy to practice a life which is favorable to spiritual realization. There's a lot of material pressures. There's a lot of demands, unnatural demands also, so many. Even our practical lifestyle, that right now, who can walk these days without a mobile? Not many people. Not many. You can, but not many. You can't catch a bus in some places without a mobile phone. You can't park your car if you've got one without a mobile. You can't buy a ticket without a mobile. Many places is like that. Bank card. You can't do anything without a bank card. You can't even get on. Some airlines will not let you on unless you've got a bank card. You've got to show the bank card with which the ticket was purchased with. We're very controlled, conditioned to an artificial environment. The simple lifestyle of traditions, in most cases at least, does facilitate much more natural kind of living and more favorable, you could say, in general. Not absolutely, but in general for spiritual cultivation, spiritual quests. But this is the material world, and corruption and exploitation are inevitable. And we are where we are, and we're in a situation where we try to bring about a more favorable environment, but you can't depend on it. You can't depend on it. You have to depend on within, something much deeper. So as far as the process is concerned, in a simple sentence, it's made easier in this age because we're not philosophers. We're not big yogis. How many of you can meditate under the water for 50 years? Not even 50 seconds. How many of us can, stand on the tip of our toe for 100 years? How many of us can go without even, you can read about it in the 6th chapter here, if you really want to practice this Hatha Yoga process, it's pretty intense. It's not just about once a week for 30 minutes or something, sitting in a certain posture and looking at a candle. There's much more to it than that. It's very intense. Withdrawing the senses from the sense objects entirely. No other thought. Suspending all one's thoughts, focusing on the, your eyes half closed, fixed on the tip of the nose, sitting perfectly straight, suspending the breathing, holding your breath, completely controlling it to the point where you don't need to breathe practically. Holding the life airs is not easy. Focused on the consciousness within the heart, the super consciousness within the heart, and not wavering for a moment. It's so many disturbances. They're in our minds, in the world around us. People can't do it. We can't do all this austerities and understanding from study. Not possible. So made very simple in this age. That in Kali Yuga, the recommended means of self-realization is to purify our hearts, purify our minds, purify our lives by the simple mantra chanting. That's why Madan Gopal was singing earlier on. It's called mantra meditation, mantra kirtan. We sing and we hear, and we try to absorb what we're hearing. This chanting of Hare Krishna is recommended. Kaler doshana de rajanasti ekamahangan. So many problems in this age, but one good thing, ekamahangan, one wonderful thing is kirtanadi Krishna. Anybody can chant together. When we chant together, we don't care what all of our problems are, that we don't like each other when we walk out this room or before we walked into this room. It doesn't mean anything anymore. We're all focused together, chanting the holy names. This is the secret of bringing this unification as well as purification and realization. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai. Hare Krishna Raghunath.